I'm just going to preface this by saying if you're a person who does not like movie spoilers, don't bother watching this because I throw that shit out the window. I really don't buy into the whole, oh, no spoilers culture. That drives me up a freaking wall. So if you don't want spoilers, now's your chance to click out. Fair warning, you don't get to get mad at me for giving away literally all the things about the movie. So, anyway, now that that's aside, yesterday I meant to actually review this last night, but then I didn't get to it. So I'm doing it today, and hopefully I won't forget things. Kimmy and I went and saw Toy Story 4. She actually saw it twice in a 24-hour span. Not with me both times. She went and saw it with her boyfriend first the night before, but I don't do nighttime movies generally because A, they're like way more expensive, and B, I tend to fall asleep like before they're over. So yeah, that. So I like to see matinees because A, they're cheap, and B, I don't fall asleep during them because they're during the day. So anyway, anywho, we went and saw Toy Story 4. Did I say 3 before? I meant 4, the new one that is currently out. And I really didn't go into it having much of any expectations one way or the other, because where 3 left off, I felt like that was a good stopping point. They could have ended the series there just as a trilogy, and everyone would have been happy. I don't think anyone would have had any complaints with that. It was a good spot. Andy grew up, he gave his toys away to the little girl Bonnie. Everyone's happy! It could have been fine there! I still, even seeing 4, feel like it could have stopped there and been fine. All of this was unnecessary trauma you just put these toys through. I have a lot of feelings. I mean a lot of feelings about this film. So, I mean, I always do when it comes to Toy Story, and I realized walking in the irony, especially if this does end up being the final Toy Story film. Isn't it ironic that the only 2 that I saw in the actual theater were the very first one the week it came out, and now this one? The other 2, it took me like years after they came out to even watch them. So I actually only just finally saw Toy Story 3 for the first time like a year or so ago. So there's that. But anywho, so this one, all I knew going into it is that there's a new character who's a frickin' spork, and he is voiced by Tony Hale, who is Buster on Arrested Development. So for me, that was just enough already to get me curious enough to come see it. I mean, I'd have seen it anyway, probably at home on TV, but I would have probably eventually watched it at some point. But okay, so the film opens, and the very first thing that struck my attention was just the visual quality of this film. Let me go check what that was real quick, otherwise it's gonna distract me this whole time, okay? Okay, I think my phone is freaking possessed. There is no notifications of anything new on it, but it keeps making the sound effects like there's notifications. Not the first time this has happened. Not sure what the heck that means. This is still my first smartphone, and I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing with it. But anyway, back to Toy Story 4. First thing that caught my attention was the visual quality and how far it's come from the first one, at least during the opening scene. I mean, I'm sure it has improved on the whole throughout all of it, but the opening scene when Woody is rescuing the RC car from the gutter, I had to blink a few times and squint at the screen a little because I couldn't quite tell for 100% certainty if this was still CGI or if they're actually filming this with legit toys, because that one scene looked that legit realistic. The water, everything about this, I would have sworn that this was actually a real thing. And hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Second time Gimme came home, so anyways. Yeah, I pretty much said all I had to say about just the quality of that opening scene. But then when it gets back into the room, it looks more like standard traditional Toy Story quality. So it's like, oh okay. Like, did we blow the entire budget on that opening scene sequence, like, what? Okay. But anyway, so this kind of backpedaled back to when Andy was still a kid, to when the baby sister Molly had outgrown the Bo Peep lamp, and she said, "Yeah, you can get rid of it. I don't want it anymore." So they had boxed her up, and were gonna just give her away. And Woody was like, "No!" And went running out to the box that was left outside before it could get loaded up into the car, and was basically trying to talk her out of it. And she's just like, "No, I'm not Bonnie's toy anymore, and it's okay." And she made room for him in the box if he wanted to come with her, but he's like, "No, gotta stay for Andy." So he did, and we all know how that ended up. So then it goes to present day, where he is now in Bonnie's room and is relegated to living in her closet because apparently she doesn't play with him anymore. She plays with Jesse. She even takes his sheriff badge off to put it on Jesse. And this is a regular thing. Apparently, this was third time this week that he hadn't been chosen and was still in the closet collecting dust bunnies. Some of the baby toys were commenting about it, and interesting point to note, with those baby toys, they were some very, very brief cameos by Mel Brooks, who was Melvin Brooks. Betty White, who is Bitey White. She was like a little tiger teething ring. I'm sorry, I love this entirely too much. Carol Burnett was Cheryl Burnett. She was like a little toddler chair. And Carl Reiner was like Carl Rhinoceros or something. He was obviously a little rhinoceros toy, but they each had like one line of dialogue or something, but it happened so quick I didn't even realize that was where they were in the film, because I knew going into it they had a cameo somewhere, I just didn't know where or as what or anything, and it took me till watching the credits at the end of the movie to be like, okay, that's really cute names, but where the hell were those? And then I got home and I googled it, I was like, oh, those, because at first I was like, where was there an elephant? Okay, fair enough. They showed him for like 30 seconds of even that, but whatever, that's not like a plot point really at all, other than just Woody realizing that, you know, his purpose, at least for her, is coming to an end. He's becoming redundant, and that really sucks, but he's kind of just clinging to the hope that he will get chosen again to be played with and to be the favorite once again, even though it does not seem to be happening. And Bonnie has her first day of kindergarten, and she really doesn't want to go, and she's crying and everything, and just does not want to go. But obviously, she has to. It's kindergarten, you don't get out of that. But, Woody kind of stows away into her backpack, even though everyone tells him not to. It could get her in trouble, and he could get confiscated, this, that, and the other. And he doesn't really do anything. He more or less just observes from the backpack, and he's fine until, you know, other kids are kind of bullying her a little tiny bit. I mean, not like bad bullying, but I mean, like, arts and crafts time comes along, and some boy comes along, like, steals pretty much her entire tray of supplies and just bumps them in the trash, because fuck you, that's why. And yeah, hopefully there's no little kids watching this review. Sorry, parents, if they are. But anyway, so she's upset and is like crying again over this, as I seem to remember. So Woody kind of sneaks out of the backpack, uses lunchbox as like a shield, so nobody notices this, because nobody would notice a lunchbox moving across the floor. I mean, this is one point that I had with the film of, like, at least in the former Toy Story movies, everything seemed more or less plausible. In this one, it seemed like they're starting to really reach where it's like, there's no way no one would freaking notice this stuff. And there's many, many, many instances of it throughout the entire thing, to where it's like blatant. It's like, yeah, you're not selling me on it this time, guys. Sorry. But, whatever. It's what it is. But anyway, so he sneaks over to the trash can, and he kind of, like, hops in there, grabs up as many of the supplies as he can. Like, he tosses out first, like, a box of crayons just so she can go get them. While she's grabbing those, he like has his arm full of stuff and just toss it up on the table and then right back into the backpack where he waits and watches and hopes like anything she's gonna be okay. And she starts just building stuff with supplies that were there, which is like a spork, a pipe cleaner, some clay, a popsicle stick, the crayons, and some googly eyes. That's about it. And she makes Forky, even though it's a spork, but that's beside the point. It does not matter. And I don't think anyone realizes he's sentient at first. I don't think he realizes it even initially. But that's okay. She loves her new friend that she just made, of Forky. And when they come home from school, Woody, of course, like, after she's tossed the backpack on the floor and, like, goes off to go play or do whatever it is Bonnie has to do, Woody comes out and says to the rest of the toys in the playroom that, hey, she had a great first day of kindergarten and she made a new friend. And they're like, oh, that's great, she's already making friends. No. She literally made a new friend, and he pulls Forky out of the backpack, who's immediately looking around and just like, trash? Because he thinks he's just garbage, and he starts hopping over to the trash can. This becomes a whole plot point in and of itself, that all he wants to do is throw himself in the trash because he thinks he's nothing more than trash. He doesn't get it that he's a toy, that he is loved, all that. No, he just thinks he's trash. And Woody takes it upon himself because Bonnie loves him so much that, yeah, can't let him throw himself away, and this becomes a whole Randy Newman song in it, you know, because Toy Story. But and he keeps having to fish Forky back out of the trash, and Forky keeps throwing himself back in the trash, and this is like an ongoing thing. Woody can't even sleep. He's like up around the clock just making sure Forky doesn't throw himself in the trash. I mean, it's kind of like a suicide watch if you think about it. Like, Kimmy nudged me and was like, hey, it's Disney's first suicidal character. I'm like, oh my god, that's so bad. But I mean, where's the lie? But anyway, and I highly doubt it's the first one. Anyway, so first openly, maybe. But, anywho, so there's even like a road trip on an RV. Forky's still pulling his shit. I mean, Woody's getting no signs of any kind of acknowledgement from Bonnie for what all he's doing, or even just acknowledgement at all. No playing with, no anything. Can't really say anything about that, but I mean, it is what it is. He's still trying his darndest to make sure Forky stays where he needs to be for Bonnie. So, I mean, it's the only use he can find for himself is making sure Bonnie's happy, even if it's by making sure this toy stays here. And eventually during this RV road trip, which, I mean, kind of funny to me that Joni Hales from Arrested Development, and then Will Arnett, who was also on Arrested Development, was in the movie RV, and then, oh, hey, we're in an RV. Yeah, I'm really reaching here. Shut up. Just shut up. Let me have this one. Anyway, so on this RV trip, Forky throws himself in a trash can across the street, and while Woody's going and fetching him back out of it, of course, the RV has to start driving without them because... Or actually, was it that, or did he just throw himself out the window? That's what it was. He threw himself out the window to try and throw himself in the trash, and Woody followed, thinking that he could catch back up with the RV. It'd be no biggie. Yeah, good luck with that. But it's during this time that he has alone with Forky that he kind of clicks it into Forky's head that you are Bonnie's favorite toy, and the way that you make her feel is how the trash makes you feel. And all of a sudden, ding, a light bulb moment for Forky. He gets it now. He no longer wants to throw himself in the trash. He wants to be Bonnie's trash. I swear, in the context of the film, it makes sense. It makes sense. But anyway, it's kind of weird, but sweet at the same time. But, I mean, that kind of is Tony Hale's thing. I just really could not unhear him as Buster, because he's still, like, doing the same characterization he used for Buster, alright? So basically, this is just Buster coming out of a spork as far as I'm concerned, and it was bizarre. But funny. But anyway, so, alright, fine. So, he's trying to catch back up to the RV, so they think they're gonna meet up at the next stop, and on their way, they pass by an antique store, which would be no big deal, except he notices in the window of this antique shop is Bo Peep's lamp. Without her on it, mind you, but I mean, Bo Peep's lamp is there with light on, and he thinks maybe she's there. So he wiggles through the mail slot thinking this'll just be a short little detour, go say hi, see how she is. Oh my god. This is where shit takes a dark turn. And I mean dark. So they go in, and it's an antique store. It's closed at this point, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes some creepy freaking dolls. Like, if you have, like, issues with being scared of dolls, especially of creepy dolls, you do not want to watch this movie. Just freaking trust me. You don't believe me? Just Google Toy Story for the Bensons. Just, you're welcome. You're welcome for your nightmares. Anyway, so as if ventriloquist dummies weren't creepy enough to begin with, there's 4 of them, and they're all, like, out to basically kill. Well, maybe not kill, just maim. Steal organs off of toys, you know, just, you know, Disney stuff, right? Oh my god, like, what even? But he comes across one of these ventriloquist dummies pushing a baby pram, which, I mean, is creepy and very Chucky-esque, and I don't like it. It did not help that when we walked out of this movie, the first movie poster we passed was one for Child's Play. I was like, oh fuck no. The next one we passed is for that new Annabelle movie. I'm like, oh, screw you. The timing of this was really bad or really genius. I'm not quite sure which one. Maybe both. I don't know, but just stop it. Stop it. But that aside, so in this baby pram, I'm expecting some sort of like mutant baby thing. Oh no. Up comes like an actually very cute little ginger redhead doll, which, I mean, we all know I'm partial to redheads, so of course I'm initially thinking, oh my god, she's so cute, new favorite. And I mean, basically, she's a Chatty Cathy doll under a different name. She's Gabby Gabby, because apparently they couldn't get the licensing. This was the thing I noticed with this particular incarnation of Toy Story. In the past ones, they always had the licensing from Mattel to use the actual brand names for the toys. This one, they largely did not. I mean, they did for Barbie still, but I mean, like, there was Polly Pockets, they had to rename them something else, Chatty Cathy had to be something else, Evil Knievel had to be something else. I mean, like, the list goes on and on. I was like, oh, is Toy Story not as big a deal to these brands anymore as it used to be? I mean, I don't know. But anyway, that's beside the point. She's basically a Chatty Cathy doll. And first thing she's asking Woody is, oh, when were you made? Like, 1950s? Me too. And you have a pull string? Does your voice box still work? And when he pulls it to prove that it does and it's still flawless, she's like, you know, I bet it's the same one that mine is. And then she lets it be known that that is what she needs, because she was defective straight out of the box, and all she wants is his freaking voice box. And she has no issue with ripping it right out of him, if need be. And she fully intends to get it by any means necessary. It's like, okay, so now Disney has delved into the area of organ stealing. Great! I mean, I know they're toys, but just... that's a really dark theme to throw into a kid's movie, even for toys. I'm sorry. And I mean, I say this speaking as a kid who had some pretty messed up storylines that I played with my toys, but even by my standards, that shit's dark, okay? But anyway, beside the point. So her henchmen, ventriloquist dummies, the Bensons, are now after him, and he's just trying to get the hell out of there intact. But they got Forky, and he's like, oh crap, now I can't leave without Forky. So that's a whole thing, and he knows that if he wants to make Bonnie happy, he has to get Forky back. But at the same time, they're gonna, like, disembowel him if he goes back in there. He doesn't find Bo Peep in there, by the way. So, he just saw the lamp, but he gets out of there, and he's trying to figure out, what am I gonna do? I mean, if he were a selfish toy, he could have just gone back to the RV, forget Forky, and just go on with your life. But then we'd have no movie, I suppose. So, couldn't really do that. But anyway, I'm trying to remember what happened next in it. I know at some point he finds, across the street from this antique store is, like, a carnival that's going on, but somewhere in there, like, he comes across a summer camp for kids just in trying to get the hell away from the antique store. And in doing so, that is where he finds Bo Peep. But, she's a little different now. I mean, she's no longer in her dress. Oh no, now she's very Rosie the Riveter-esque and very I don't need no man kind of attitude. Now I'm like, oh great. We have feminist Bo Peep now. Lovely. I mean, this was one thing where my sister and I had very opposing views on this. She loves that she's a feminist now. But my sister's an SJW. Whereas I'm just like, don't do that. Stop indoctrinating the young, please. Just, can we not? But I mean, this is not a video about politics, but just throwing it out there. I was just like, why? Why did we have to go there? Damn it, we ruined Bo Peep. But anyway, so she has her sheep that apparently have names, and have had names all along. They're Billy Goat and Gruff. Just, side note there, because why not give them names? I mean, we've seen them in every Toy Story film. They may as well have names. I mean, everyone else has had a name, so okay, they have names. They also have stickers all over them now from somebody. Wasn't Andy, wasn't Molly, but at some point after that, some kid must have had this lamp before it ended up in the antique store who put stickers all over them. And Bo Peep's, is it called a crook? Yeah, shepherd's crook. Her crook is, like, broken, like, tied back together with what looks like baby dental floss. It doesn't really matter, it's tied back together. It shows that she has seen some shit since Woody has last seen her, and now she, like, has a remote-controlled skunk that she rides around in, because, everyone will run from a skunk, so she has the right-of-way anywhere she wants to go. People will clear out of her way, so I mean, it's kind of genius. And she's made some new friends along the way in this summer campy area. Like the little Polly Pocket character that doesn't go by Polly Pocket is something McGiggles. What the hell was it? It's like a really stupid name, and that's why, like, in my brain, I'm like, nope, you're Polly Pocket. I'm sorry. I don't care what your Disney name is, but you're Polly Pocket, alright? It was something really, really lame. What the heck was it? Something McGiggles. It was something like Bubbles McGiggles, like Bubbly McGiggles, I want to say. Again, it does not matter. She's a frickin' Polly Pocket at the end of the day. That's all you need to know. And she basically lives on Bo Peep's shoulder. It's a itty bitty little thing. Because, Polly Pockets are tiny. Or at least we're using the versions of them that were tiny. Today they're not. But I mean, this was another thing that I noticed a shift with. I mean, the first Toy Story, a lot of the toys in it were largely ones from, like, the 70s and 80s. Now, they've, like, shown some passage of time, and there's a lot of stuff from my childhood. We got a bunch of 90s toys in there, so I'm like, I like what you did there. That was a nice touch. But anyway, so, I mean, I guess since generally back then, 20 years earlier, the people taking their kids to go see Toy Story, they wanted toys in this film that made them feel nostalgic. Now, we're at a point where the toys in this one, my generation are kind of like the parents of a lot of the kids who are seeing this movie now. Make them feel nostalgic. Although, if there's some of the grandparents now of those kids also seeing it, hey, that's where the Chatty Cathy comes in, because now we've got something from, like, the 50s and 60s that they grew up with, so hey, there you go. But anyway, and probably that creepy Benson thing, which, It's not after the TV show Benson, because I looked it up and that was like a black guy, so this is not that Benson. I don't know where they came up with this name for them for. It may just be a random name. I don't really know, but I mean, if you look at like old like toy catalogs, you definitely have seen these ventriloquist dummies before. Hold on just a second, I gotta let the dog out. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully that is it for the interruptions, although who even knows at this point? So, anyways, so that brings us to where Bo Peep came in and and Woody's asking, like, what's she been doing with herself since they last saw each other, and I mean, apparently it's been, like, 9 long years, which, I mean, it's kind of weird when you think about it in terms of, like, toy time, because on one hand, sure, that's a long time, on the other hand, they're toys. They don't really die, so I mean, like, Woody's been around for freaking decades at this point, so what's 9 years, really? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, but that's okay. That's okay. I mean, furthers the plot, I guess, but, it has to be a number that little kids can, like, wrap their head around, I suppose, too. But anyway, that is beside the point, and neither here nor there. So, after they kind of catch up on things, he kind of explains the situation with Forky and where he just came from, and she's just like, wait a minute, I know that antique store, and starts saying that, yeah, I should go back with you if you're going there, you can't go there alone, and she knows it real well, and thinks that, okay, they'll go get Forky back, it'll be no big deal, even though it's definitely a big deal, and it's taking Woody so long to where the other toys are starting to notice his disappearance and how long he's been gone. Something's probably wrong. Should probably send some people out to go search for him, you know, that sort of thing. So, of course, Buzz Lightyear goes out. At some point in the film, I forget at what point. See, this is why I should have filmed this review last night when it was fresher in my brain. But I mean, at some point, Woody had mentioned, like, his inner voice, and Buzz is just, like, so dumb to where he thought this meant, wait, you mean, like, your catchphrases? And so he, like, interprets this as every time he presses one of his buttons, that must be his inner voice telling him what to do. And that becomes a plot point throughout the film. But anyway, so they start setting out trying to find Woody and Forky, and Bo Peep is going back with Woody to, come on, words, you can work, to the antique store, to try and go get Forky back, and by this point, now Forky is kind of being held hostage with Gabby in, this curio cabinet thing, in the middle of the store, and her henchmen are kind of keeping watch on all sides, and she's getting Forky to tell her everything about Woody at this point, so she can use it against him later, naturally. And, I mean, Forky's pretty dumb, so he doesn't understand the nuances of this and what all that means and why you shouldn't do that. But again, it's beside the point, so he's spilling his guts here. And somewhere around here is when, there's this little girl named Harmony that's, like, the granddaughter of the shop owner. Like, she's in there, and Gabby's just watching her from this curio cabinet, just longingly wishing she could be played with, because she never had a kid, because she was defective straight out of the box, and was never loved, and never played with, always wished more than anything she could be, and feels that it is entirely just because she doesn't have a working voice box that nobody wants to play with her. Never mind the fact that it's not because she's totally creepy or anything, but I mean, again, beside the point, but anyway. But yeah, like, her great want in life is that maybe Harmony will play with her one day and take her home, make her hers, whatever. Of course, it doesn't happen, but anyway. Bo Peep comes back with Woody to the antique store and is scoping it out, and they're trying to put together a plan. Meanwhile, while Buzz is trying to find Woody, he gets, like, swept up into the carnival. Like, this is like a side plot all on its own. and he gets, like, picked up as, like, a prize in one of the game booths and is, like, held with a zip tie to the wall, and this is where we meet Bunny and... is it Ducky or Chicky? It doesn't really matter. They don't really say the names, I don't think. They're kind of just there, but there are these plush animals that are above him on the prize wall that just have bad freaking attitudes, but are just basically there for comedic relief throughout the film, which I guess is needed for how dark the themes are in this one. Especially, like, on top of, you know, organ stealing, we've also got existential despair and things. There's a lot of heavy, hard to digest stuff for children in there. You really need stuff like that to help balance it back out into a kids movie. But anyway, eventually Buzz does break free, but also busts them free at the same time, and all they want to do is kick his ass, and they're like following him around until eventually, I guess this is before Woody made it back into the antique store, and they're there, and somehow mentions Bonnie, and they're like, wait, you have a kid? Like a kid, not a goat kid. And basically promises that he could take them back with them, and, you know, they could be Bonnie's toys too. It's no big deal. And they kind of lay off Buzz at this point, and they're kind of just there, like I said, as comedically relief throughout the rest of the film from that point on. But yeah, so they go back to the antique store. This is when they go back. I knew I was forgetting something before. And they're trying to come up with a game plan of how they're gonna get Forky out of that cabinet and back to the RV, before the RV leaves, more importantly. Because that's always the thing in the Toy Story movies. There's always that sense of urgency that is pushing along the plot. So there's that. There's also apparently a cat that lives in this antique store that likes to rip toys to shreds. And I'm like, oh, I've owned this cat. Alright. Kind of looked like him too. But anyway, that cat's not really that big of a plot point. It's kind of just there, but yay cat. Even though it's a bad cat. It just made me happy that there was a cat. But anyway, I mean, there was a dog in one of the earlier Toy Stories, so why not have a cat? But anyway, so they're trying to get it back, and of course the Bensons are, like, fucking with them at every turn, and just making life difficult. Eventually, they do get a hold of Woody and bring him to Gabby Gabby. I keep wanting to call her Chatty Cathy, even though she's not. But yeah, he's in there, and they're pretty much, like, going after him now, like, plunging, like, their hands into his back, trying to rip his stuffing out to get at his voice box. And I think this is where Bo Peep comes in, like, starts kicking ass and taking names, but they kind of sort of get Forky back, but not entirely. Like, shit goes down. It kind of gets hazy hereabouts. Oh, there's one other new character. That's right, that's what goes on. So Bo Peep decides they need backup reinforcements at this point after managing to get away from Gabby Gabby and away from the Bensons and everything. There's an old pinball machine that is in this place, and apparently this pinball machine is like a nightclub for toys, evidently, that she used to frequent. Yeah, Bo Peep's got a past at this point now. It's just like, oh, alright. That's okay. You do you, boo-boo. But anyway, so they go through this nightclub to find Duke Kaboom, who Keanu Reeves randomly does the voice of, and I feel like this character was written with Lego Batman in mind, and, like, they kind of used him as a prototype. Maybe they, like, secretly wanted Will Arnett and couldn't get him. I don't know, but I feel like the role was written with him in mind, the way they went about it, but, oh, we couldn't get him? Who's another big Canadian? Keanu Reeves! Close enough, because why the fuck not? So, anyway, so Duke Kaboom is basically Evel Knievel as an action figure. Just instead of having all the Americana garb, he's got Canadian garb all over him. And he was a little Canadian kid's toy, but I mean, as many toys go, the commercial shows one thing, you get it home and it doesn't work as seen on TV, you play with it once and you never touch it again. That is exactly what happened to Duke Kaboom, and it rocked his self-confidence from that day on. And he never got over this kid that never played with him again. Yeah, like, he had like a really French name. It was like Rahan or something. I don't know. But anyway, beside the point. He's basically Evil Knievel, but Canadian. And they need his help to try to get into that cabinet, because they figure if nothing else, he can, like, bust through the glass if need be. Although, trying to get him to do the thing is a whole other story. But yeah, shit goes down. It's really hard to try to, like, lay out the action scenes, having only seen it once, and try to get the sequence of events correct. So I'm just gonna long story short it on this one. They eventually get back in there. They get Sporky. They even get past the cat. They manage to get out of the antique store out the back door. And yet, there was something that he had to go back in for. What did he need to go back in for? Maybe Sporky didn't get out. There was somebody that was left behind in there that he needed to go back for. I could have sworn Forky got out, but maybe Forky was still in there. Yeah, that's what it was. They tried to get Forky and still hadn't. I believe. I am all confused on this. I've only seen it the one time, and apparently it all went poof already, so... Anyway, there was some toy left in there. Be it Forky or someone else, but I feel like it was Forky because that was the bartering chip. And he went back in, and the Bensons got him. And at this point, he was just like, you know what, if I can just get Forky back for Bonnie, screw it. I give up. I give up. You can have the voice box, I don't care. So fine, a trade is made. Forky goes out, and basically they knock Woody out and rip his freaking voice box out. And he wakes back up on what's supposed to look like a toy surgery table with a sewing machine sewing up his back instead of a surgeon sewing out. It's weird, it's dark, it's creepy, it was just like, weird vibes, I don't know. And now Chatty Cathy has her freaking voice box that works. And Harmony comes in, and she tries to get her attention, and Harmony still doesn't give a fuck. So all of that was for nothing! For nothing! So now, of course, friggin' Gabby's all despondent. Doesn't matter. You can have your voice box back, or your voice box back now. I don't care anymore. That was my one chance, and it's gone. I will never be loved by a child ever. Wow, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. It's Disney, you know how it goes. I secretly hoped they would give him back his voice box, but they don't! They don't! They let her frigging keep it after all that. I'm still upset. I mean... On one hand, I see why they did. It proves how selfless of a character that Woody is and wants to help everybody around him. That is just part of the nature of who he is. But secretly, I'm just upset that he couldn't have it back after all that. Because the way that Gabby ended up being loved by a kid in the end, it wouldn't have mattered if she had a voice box or not, I don't think. I'm pretty sure the kid would have been happy with her, even just as a normal freaking doll. But anyway... Beside the point, they do some shit, they get out of the antique store, the RV is leaving, the other toys on the RV are trying to pull some shenanigans to buy time, they're screwing with the GPS, they're screwing with everything to where they drive back to the carnival to buy enough time to get these toys back onto the RV. It's weird. It's very weird. The little stuffed unicorn, the entire film has just had, like, a boner for wanting to get the dad arrested. I don't know why. It almost happens, and he's really happy about it, and I'm like, is this just because it's a male character and we're going so feministy to where, yeah, let's just dick with the males because we can't? Like, what is... I don't know. Something about it rubbed me the wrong way, but it was a fairly minor plot point. It was just more like, really? Really? Like, you could have done that without all of the comments about, dad's going to jail, dad's going to jail. Did you have to? Can't we, like, respect the parents? But whatever, that's just me. But, anyway. So, the toys go to get back in the RV, except Bo Peep's not going. She doesn't want to be held down to a kid anymore. She wants to see the world now. And now Woody is torn and has to make a decision. Does he stay with her, or does he go back to Bonnie, who doesn't freaking play with him anyway, and he's completely redundant there, but his friends are there though. And maybe she might want to play with him again one day. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. And he's just very agonized and torn, and it takes Buzz having to tell him that, you know, she'll be okay. Bonnie will be okay. And that was basically his permission that, you know what, you stay with Bo Peep, you do you. And he does. Woody became a lost toy, and that is basically how it ends. I'm like, really? Really? Your main character of this franchise, and he's just gone? I mean, the way they ended it, I mean, technically, the door could be open to, if they wanted to, they could make a Toy Story 5. Probably wouldn't have Woody in it the way they went about it, but I mean, how can you have Toy Story without Woody? Oh, maybe they just somehow, someway managed to find the way back. I don't friggin' know. It's supposedly the last Toy Story, so I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm just like, all of this was unnecessary! Did we have to do any of this? We did not have to do any of this. There was one little short ending scene back in Bonnie's room where I guess a year has passed, and now Jessie has taken over, like, what Woody used to be for the playrooms and stuff, and is kind of like head honcho in charge, and has followed along to Bonnie's first day of first grade, and hey, look at that, she made a new friend, friend. It's basically another Forky, except it's a knife. I guess that makes her knifey. And now, knifey and Forky are a thing. Please tell me they're not gonna have little cutlery babies. Just, can we not? I don't know. So, weird ending. I mean, technically it ties up loose ends, but also opens the door for, if the franchise wanted to make one more and just squeeze some more pennies out of it, they could. They could. We got another new character we haven't really explored yet. We could do the thing. We probably won't do the thing, but I mean, we could. I don't know. I have a lot of conflicted feelings about this one. I mean, on one hand, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. I didn't dislike it. I actually enjoyed it, but on the other hand, it doesn't really feel like it fits with the other 3 Toy Story movies. And I mean, I left with this sense of just, like, it's missing something. I can't put my finger on what it's missing, but it feels like it's missing something. And my sister has echoed the same exact sentiment. So I'm just like, okay, so it's not just me, but I don't know what that something is. I don't think it's just because Woody got left behind. No, I mean, through the whole thing, I was just like, I mean, yeah, it's Toy Story, but it doesn't really hold a candle to the other 3. Just something feels off. I don't know if it's because they went more of a weird route. I don't know if it's because they went more of a dark route. I don't really know. But it feels like it's starting to get the Disney sequel syndrome. And if you've seen any other Disney sequels outside of the Toy Story ones, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Disney sequels generally suck. They generally suck hard. This did not suck, but I could see it starting to turn into a slippery slope where it easily could start if they keep making more films in the franchise. I'm just like, oh, could we not? I mean, don't do that. Don't ruin the Toy Story name like that. I mean, I don't know. It left me with this weird feeling that I can't quite explain. I don't think it has to do with that I'm older watching it, because I was about the age Kimmy is now when the last Toy Story came out. I didn't have this feeling over that one. So, I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with it, because she feels the same way about this one, so I don't know. It's strange. And it doesn't feel like it fits. I mean, remember there was also that other, like, Toy Story spin-off, there was, like, that Halloween special. I feel like that even fit more on brand than this one did as a sequel. It's just, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of starting to jump the shark with Toy Story at this point, but at the same time, it's not a bad movie. It's just not up to par with the other Toy Story movies. I would still probably give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was still enjoyable in its own way, especially if you're not trying to compare it to the other 3. But that said, just it does leave you feel like it's lacking something. So that's why I can't honestly give it a 5. I would love to be able to, but something's off with it. And I can't define what the thing is, and it's making me crazy that I can't define what it is. But that's okay. It is what it is, but I feel like there's probably gonna be a whole new generation of kids who are now scared of dolls after watching that movie, so I mean, there's that. Good job, Disney, good job, but anyway. They are making merch of the friggin' Benson dolls now. I looked, because in trying to Google a picture, because I was gonna send a screen cap to my other sister to show her these creepy things. Oh, Walmart came up with a playset with Woody, a Woody figurine where he's like this, and one of the Bensons. Why would you freaking want one? Especially after seeing that, why would you want one? Just, oh god, I don't know. I don't even know, but I sure wouldn't want one. I don't think I'd ever sleep again, personally. I would not want that thing anywhere near me. Say anything of my other toys, but I would not want one of those near me. If I were a little kid, I probably would have been crying over those things, but then I was a wussy little kid, but I mean, did not like those things one bit. To be fair, I didn't like Sid one bit in the first one, and the second one I didn't like the prospector guy, and the third one, what's his face? I mean, there was a lot of characters in the third one where I was like, oh heck no, but I mean, especially that, like, Lotso Bear, or whatever his name was. Didn't like him. So, I mean, I guess every Toy Story movie's gotta have one, but I mean, these just by their very nature are, like, very creepy. The others, I mean, at least it was just because they're douchebags that you don't like, but these are, like, straight up creepy nightmare fuel. I'm, like, still creeped out thinking about them, like, 24 hours later, but anyway. Yeah, so that was Toy Story 4. Should you go see it? I don't know, depends how you feel about the rest of the series. If it's practically on, like, sanctimonious ground to you, I would say you might be better off leaving it alone where the third one stopped. Because this doesn't really add to the story. This is just a completely unnecessary chapter, in my opinion. Similarly, if you don't want to watch one that has darker, creepier themes to it, skip it for that. If just out of curiosity you want to see what all they did with it, knock yourself out. Again, it's not bad. You'll probably still walk away and say, it was good, but I mean, was it as good as the other 3? No. No, it's not as good as the other 3. Like, if we are being straight up honest. It's just not. It's just not. I mean, prior to now, I would have said the second one was the weakest one, but no, that looks like a frigging masterpiece in my opinion by comparison. But anyway, I probably, if I had to put them in order of how good they are, would be like 1, 3, 2, 4. It is what it is. So anyways, this review has gotten very lengthy. In the amount of time that I have spent talking about this film, you could have watched most of the film by now, so I mean, if you're still invested by this point, maybe you should go see it. I don't know, but anyways, that is about all I can say about this film at this point, so if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Have you seen Toy Story 4? Do you plan on seeing it if you haven't seen it? What do you think of the Toy Story series in general? Who are your favorite characters? Let me know everything and just anything about anything all down below in the comments. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Etsy, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. So anyway, guys, until next time, bye-bye.